exhibits were admitted during that Daubert hearing last night, it would be the state's preference to just use the same exhibit number just for, and I don't,
Sure.
I don't know that.
I mean, I think the same exhibit number is appropriate. Mr. Cruz made it very clear, unless you tell me otherwise, it was admitted for the purpose of that hearing only. So you'll go through the same process if you want to, about admission of evidence, if you want to admit those. But I think the numbers need to stay the same.
That's what I thought too, Your Honor. I just wanted to be clear before I started putting stickers on things.
Okay, very good. Thank you. All right, anything else?
And Judge, this is kind of in that same vein as it's going to relate to Mr. Peterson's testimony. The copies of his reports that I admitted during the Daubert hearing are not redacted. And so would the court want me to redact what's already been admitted prior to it being shown to the jury or handed to the witness? Or would you like me to leave it in its actual form as it was admitted during the Daubert hearing?
I'm not sure I understand what you're saying. Are there portions of the evidence that you admitted during the hearing that need to be redacted?
Yes, Judge.
Okay.
In accordance with the court's ruling on the state Saudi motion, some of the information listed as far as suspect or some of the elimination samples that aren't actually relevant to the trial of the case.
Sure. I would say this as a general rule. Mr. Cruz, you certainly can respond before I say anything about what he's referring to. Anything you'd like to add?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you. So I would say, Mr. Yalamanchili, for efficiency purposes, that it would be imperative to redact what is appropriate to redact before you tender it. And I think that's the best way to handle it, as opposed to after.
Yes, Judge.
All right.
Happy to do so.
All right, very good. And you can show, obviously, Mr. Cruz, what you're redacting. If you have any objection to that, obviously we'll take it up before it gets admitted or is offered for admission. But
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Cruz, anything before the jury comes in?
No,
all right, thank you. You may bring the jury in. All right, everyone may be seated. Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We are back here in court today with regard to State of Georgia versus Edrick Faust, SU 24CR0547. I appreciate you all arriving here on time, as usual. I just want to let you all know that we are starting late today, and I promised you that we would be as efficient as we could, and we are actually keeping to that promise. It may not seem like it because we're starting late. I just want to explain to all of you. We were here late last night, handling some matters, of course, that needed to be done outside your presence. The attorneys were here really late. We knew we needed to be here today, to handle some other matters outside your presence. I didn't have it in my heart to make them come in at 8 o'clock because it was a long day yesterday and we were here really late. So we got here at 8:30 and started right away. And obviously we weren't finished until now. So I just want you to know we're not wasting your time and chatting about things that, we don't need to be chatting about. I just want you to know we've been working very hard to get through some things so we can get started. I appreciate you all filling out the lunch menus. Of course, we're doing that again today because we have an early day today, and I just want to get through things as much as we, as much as we can. On Monday, we'll go back to kind of a regular schedule, and we'll have a regular lunch hour. You all can leave and stretch your legs and get some fresh air and things of that nature. And so I just wanted to make sure you're aware of that. All right, we're going to get started. Is the state ready to proceed?
State's ready, Your Honor.
Is the defense ready?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. You may call your next witness.
Marissa. Ma'am, if you could raise your right hand, please. Do you swear or affirm your testimony in the matter pending before the court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay. Can you please state your name and spell it for the court reporter?
Marissa Licon, and it's spelled M-A-R-I-S-S-A. Last name is L-I-C-O-N.
Ma'am, how are you employed?
I'm employed at Pure Gold Forensics.
How long have you been employed at Pure Gold Forensics?
Since May of 2022, so approximately 3.5 years.
And tell us a little bit about Pure Gold Forensics. What is it?
We're a private accredited forensic DNA testing lab located in Southern California.
What kind of testing does Pure Gold do? Generally speaking.
So we do serology as well as DNA testing for prosecution, defense, as well as private parties.
What is your position at Pure Gold Forensics?
I'm a forensic scientist.
Can you please explain what your job entails?
So it involves serology testing as well as DNA testing using global filer as well as Y filer amplification kits. I analyze mixtures using StarMix probabilistic genotyping software, interpret the data, and producing a scientific report based on the data.
Can you talk a little bit about your educational background?
I have a bachelor's of science degree in forensic chemistry with a concentration in criminalistics.
And other than the education that you received in obtaining that degree, is there any other training or experience that you have that has assisted you in your work as a forensic scientist?
Yes, so upon being hired at the lab, I underwent their training program. So it was approximately a year and a half total. I was first trained in serology, which is the identification of body fluids. I underwent an observation period in which I watched another analyst perform the testing, a practical period in which I performed the testing on mock samples. I completed a oral as well as a written exam, and then completed and passed a competency test. I was observed on 3 cases before I was signed off to do independent casework in August of 2022. Subsequently, I was trained in DNA analysis, in which I also underwent an observation period, a practical period, where I performed testing on mock samples using different extraction methods. I completed my own sensitivity as well as mixture studies. I completed and passed 2 competency tests, as well as 2 moot courts, and completed an external 4-day StarMix training. And
ma'am, are you a member of any professional organizations?
Yes, I'm an affiliate member of California Association of Criminalists, as well as a professional affiliate member of American Academy of Forensic Sciences.
And ma'am, outside of this case, prior to coming to Athens, have you ever testified as an expert in court before?
Once.
Okay. And where was that?
In Colorado.
And what was the nature of that testimony?
DNA testing.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would ask that Ms. Licon be permitted to testify as an expert in forensic chemistry and forensic biology.
Any objection from the defense?
Based on honorable court's prior ruling, no, ma'am.
All right. This witness is declared an expert in the areas of forensic chemistry and forensic biology. You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ma'am, back in 2024, was Pure Gold Forensics asked to perform certain serology testing on 2 items of evidence submitted from the GBI crime lab?
Yes.
What items did you receive from the GBI?
We received 2 items which were apparent cuttings of swabs.
How were those items submitted to your lab?
We received them via FedEx.
I'm going to hand you an item that's been labeled, I believe, States 141. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And what is States 141?
It's the envelope we received.
Okay. And how do you recognize that envelope, ma'am?
This is the envelope I opened and tested the items inside.
Okay. And does your initials appear on that item?
Yes.
In what condition was States 141 when you received it at Pure Gold Forensics? Was it sealed? Let me ask.
Yes, it was sealed.
Okay. I'd move to tender States 141, Your Honor.
Any objection, Mr. Cruz?
No, ma'am.
It is admitted.
Ms. Licon, inside States 141, are there a number of items in there?
Yes.
Okay. Can you take those out? Okay. States 142, what is that?
This is Georgia Bureau of Investigation their evidence transfer receipt.
And was that, again, located inside States 141 when you received it at Pure Gold?
Yes.
And in fact, as going back to States 141, was that item completely sealed until just a few minutes ago right outside of court?
Yes.
And did you witness it being opened prior to coming in and testifying?
Yes.
Okay. States 142, what is that?
That's the transfer receipt.
Oh, I'm sorry, 143. Pardon me.
This is an envelope labeled cuttings of item 2I, oral swabbings B.
Okay. And 144, what is that?
A sealed envelope labeled cuttings of item 2J, oral swabbings A.
And just again to clarify, when you received States 141, were 142, 143, and 144 all contained inside of it?
Yes.
Do you recognize, especially as it relates to 143 and 144, those items as having your initials on them?
Yes.
At this time, I'd move to tender States 142, 43, and 44.
Any objection, Mr. Cruz?
No, Your Honor.
They are admitted. You may.
Ms. Licon, based on the request, as you might have understood it from the GBI Crime Lab, what, if any, tests did you believe may be relevant in making any determination as to the potential biological source of the items of evidence that were contained in States 143 and 144?
We were requested to perform saliva testing as well as vaginal epithelial cell testing. So I determined that our RSID saliva test as well as our Lugal's iodine tests, presumptive for vaginal epithelial cells, were appropriate.
Let's start with the RSID saliva test that you just described. Briefly, ma'am, what is amylase?
It's an enzyme found in saliva.
Okay. And where is amylase primarily found in the human body?
In the mouth, saliva.
How does the RSID saliva test test for the presence of amylase in a biological sample?
So it's a lateral flow test strip. So essentially you have your sample that's been extracted and you combine it with a buffer that comes with the test kit, and then you deposit that onto a cassette that has a membrane that contains antibodies that are specific for the antigen, which in this case is the alpha amylase from saliva. And when you deposit your sample, if the alpha amylase is present, the antibodies will capture it, and it'll continue down the membrane. And a positive test will result in 2 visible lines, and a negative test will result in a singular line.
Does it kind of resemble like a COVID test?
Yes, or like an at-home pregnancy test.
What does RSID stand for?
Rapid stain identification.
Oh, you mentioned that. I just want to be clear. Has the RSID saliva test been validated as an appropriate test for detecting the presence of saliva at Pure Gold Forensics?
Yes, we complete our own internal validation.
And has Pure Gold Forensics tested for the sensitivity of the RSID saliva test?
Yes, so during our validation, we tested different dilutions of saliva, and we came to the conclusion that the RSID saliva test kit can detect as little as 10 nanoliters of saliva, and so there's 1 million nanoliters in 1 milliliter.
So that a significantly small amount of
Yes.
a sample? Okay. Can the RSID saliva test yield false positive results?
There are other biological fluids that can yield false positives, such as human breast milk, fecal matter, and high concentrations of sweat.
And when we say false positive, just to be clear, what exactly does that mean?
Another substance that can give a positive test, but it's not the specific substance you're testing for.
And based on the possibility of a false positive result, is the RSID saliva test only considered a presumptive test rather than a confirmatory test for the presence of saliva?
Yes.
And can you just kind of explain for the jury what we mean by presumptive test versus confirmatory test?
So a presumptive test gives the likely presence of a substance, but due to false positives, it's not a definitive yes or no, whereas a confirmatory test is highly specific and can give a definitive yes or no, this substance is present.
Ma'am, to your knowledge, is there a confirmatory test regarding whether or not a sample of biological evidence is positive for the presence of saliva?
No.
And is the RSID saliva test generally accepted in the scientific community as a presumptive test for the presence of saliva?
Yes.
I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about Lugal iodine. What is the Lugal iodine test designed to look for?
It's designed to look for glycogen.
Before we get into glycogen, let's talk a little bit about epithelial cells. What is an epithelial cell?
It's a skin cell.
Okay. And can epithelial cells come from all over the human body?
Yes.
Can you please describe, generally speaking, the science behind the Lugal iodine test?
Yeah, so the premise behind the test is that the glycogen content of vaginal epithelial cells is extremely high between a woman's first menstruation and menopause. So when these cells are stained with the Lugal's iodine, they'll exhibit a dark chocolate brown color. There are other areas of the body that do contain glycogenated cells, such as oral secretions, as well as the urethral opening of the penis. However, the glycogen content of these areas is less abundant. So based on our validation as well as studies, we use a 10% threshold that if more than 10% of the cells stain the dark chocolate brown color, it's considered a positive indication for vaginal epithelial cells.
And ma'am, I think you might have hinted at this just now, but can you explain a little bit about why the Lugal iodine test might yield different results on a sample collected from a vaginal swab versus a sample collected from an oral swab?
Yeah, so amylase that was mentioned earlier that's present in saliva breaks down glycogen, so that's why there's a less abundant amount of glycogen in oral secretions.
And again, I think you might have answered this a minute ago as well, but is there a generally accepted percentage of chocolate-stained cells that one might observe which would indicate that a sample was collected from a vaginal swab?
Yes, we use a 10%.
And is that percentage higher or lower than others may have accounted for?
Yeah, so there's a study that examined buccal cells versus vaginal epithelial cells, and they determined that with a water extraction and mechanical shaking of the sample, actually less than 1% of oral secretions will stain the chocolate brown color. So our 10% threshold is more conservative.
Is the Lugal iodine test validated by Pure Gold Forensics as a presumptive test for the presence of vaginal epithelial cells?
Yes.
And to your knowledge, is there such thing as a confirmatory test for the presence of vaginal epithelial cells?
No.
Ma'am, when you received what we've tendered into evidence as states 143 and 144, these are the samples of cuttings, is that right?
Yes.
Please describe the process by which you undertook the testing that you performed.
So I first reviewed the case file, and then I removed the evidence from our evidence storage, took it into the evidence examination room, where I opened it, took photos, took notes of it, and then I took it for our extraction procedure It's our analytical procedure 5, which is a general extraction procedure that allows the analyst to retain the substrate, take the liquid portion for serology testing, and then take the cell pellet portion for either DNA extraction or microscopic examination.
Okay. And once you did all that, did you perform both the RSID saliva test and the Lugal iodine test on each item?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And just to be clear, when we're talking about the Lugal iodine test, how are you looking for or observing those chocolate stained cells that you just described earlier?
The process of putting them on the slide.
Yes.
So it goes back to the extraction procedure. So I take the substrates, which in this case were the apparent cuttings of swabs, and I place them into a test tube along with sterile water. We allow it to incubate for approximately 30 to 60 minutes, and during that time period, we vortex it several times, which means to shake vigorously. We do that by putting it on a machine. When that time period has passed, we centrifuge, we take the substrate and we put it into a spin basket on top of the same tube, and then we centrifuge the tube extremely fast so it spins fast, which pulls the liquid from the substrate. At this same time, it causes the cells within the sample to pellet at the bottom of the tube. So when that's done, we remove the spin basket, place it into a separate tube, and then left in the tube we have the liquid portion as well as the cell pellet. We pull off the majority of the liquid portion and then place that into a separate tube. That's what we refer to as the supernatant, which can be used for the different serology tests, so body fluid identification. And then left in the original tube we have the cell pellet along with a small amount of liquid. So to get to the microscopic exam part, we vortex the cell pellet along with the liquid, and then we take a small amount, so 2 to 10 microliters, and we place it onto a slide, heat fix it, and then we stain it with the Lugal's iodine.
Thank you. And again, I want to talk about the testing results, specifically related to States 143, which is your item number 1, labeled as cuttings of item 2I, oral swabbings B. That's super confusing. As it relates to this particular piece of evidence, regarding the RSID saliva test, what was your result?
It was positive for RSID saliva.
Objection, I believe that exceeds the scope of the honorable court's ruling in regards to Dauber yesterday, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Scope of the testimony, excuse me. I believe that testimony that we just received exceeded the scope of the testimony expected from the Dauber hearing.
Mr. Bolden, any response?
I mean, the fact that it's positive, I think the witness has established that that's not a confirmatory test, it's just a presumptive test.
Yeah. If that's in the form of an objection, I'm going to overrule the objection. Go ahead.
If I can approach, Your Honor?
You may.
Ma'am, I'm going to show you what's been marked as States 145. Do you recognize that?
Yes.
What is States 145?
It's the RSID saliva cassette testing results from our item number 1.
Okay. And does that picture fairly and accurately depict the results of the test on the cassette?
Yes.
Tender States 145, Your Honor?
Any objection?
No, ma'am.
It is admitted.
And Ms. Licon, did Pure Gold actually retain the cassette itself?
No, as long as we take a photo of it, we throw it away after.
With regard to the Lugal iodine test on States 143, what were your results on that, ma'am?
It was negative for the presumptive presence of vaginal epithelial cells.
Okay. And did you take a photograph of the microscopic slide that led you to that conclusion?
Yes.
If I can approach again, Your Honor.
May.
It's going to get really confusing because we're going out of order. This is stage 134. You recognize that?
Yes.
What is stage 134?
A field of view from the microscope slide from our item number 1.
Is that a fair and accurate depiction of the slide as you observed it when you conducted the Lugal iodine test on that piece of evidence?
Yes.
Move to tender stage 134.
Any objection?
No, ma'am.
It is admitted.
Your Honor, if I could publish
All right.
145 and 134 to the jury at this time?
Are you going to do it on the machine?
Yes, ma'am.
It is on.
Thank you. All right, we're going to start with states 145. Ms. Licon, again, what is this?
This is RSID saliva cassette testing results from our item number 1.
You indicated that that was positive, positive test.
Yes, it's positive.
And how do we know that?
With the visible 2 lines.
States 134, again, is that the picture of the microscopic slide after performing the Lugal iodine test on states 143?
Yes.
Okay. What are we seeing here?
We're seeing yellow staining, so epithelial cells that are not glycogenated will exhibit a yellow or no staining.
And so again, with the Lugal iodine tests, what was the result of that, if I didn't ask?
It was negative for the indication of vaginal epithelial cells.
Thank you. All right, we're going to shift gears now to states 144. With regard to this piece of evidence, again, just to be clear, did you perform both the RSID saliva test and the Lugal iodine test on the cuttings from this item, ma'am?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And as it relates to the RSID saliva test, what was your result?
It was a negative RSID saliva test. No indications of saliva were detected.
If I can approach Your Honor.
You may.
On this is stage 146. You recognize that?
Yes.
Is that a fair and accurate portrayal of the cassette in which you performed the RSID saliva test on states 144?
Yes.
I move to tender states 146 at this time.
Any objection?
No, ma'am.
It is admitted.
And did you also perform the Lugal iodine test on states 144?
Yes.
And what was the result of that test?
Greater than 10% of the cells stained the chocolate brown color, so the indication of vaginal epithelial cells were indicated.
And like before, did you take a picture of the slide with which you made that determination?
Yes, I did.
If I can approach one more time.
May.
This is states 135. You recognize that?
Yes.
Is that a true and accurate depiction of the slide that you created and observed after running the Lugal iodine test on states 144?
Yes.
I move to tender that exhibit at this time.
Any objection? It is admitted.
And if I could publish these to the jury.
You may.
All right, this is 146. Again, is that just, oh, that's upside down. Is that the RSID saliva cassette that you used in examining states 144?
Yes.
And it just, again, to be clear, what was the indication on that test?
The
Or negative?
negative.
And how are we seeing that here?
There's only a singular line at the control line and not a line at the test line.
States 135. And again, just to be clear, is this the picture of the microscopic slide after running the Lugal iodine test on states 144?
Yes.
And what are we seeing here?
We're seeing greater than 10% of the cells have exhibited a chocolate brown staining, so that's why it was considered a positive indication.
Based on your training and experience, coupled with the results of the testing that you performed on states 143, which is GBI item 2I, that testing to include both the RSID saliva test and the Lugal iodine test, if I were to tell you that that sample came from an oral swab, would that be consistent with your findings?
Yes.
As it relates to states 144, your item number 2, GBI item 2J, again, based on your training and experience, coupled with the results of the testing that you performed on this piece of evidence to include both RSID saliva and Lugal iodine, if I were to tell you that this sample came from a vaginal swab, would that be consistent with your findings?
Yes.
And lastly, in connection with all the testing that you've described here this morning and the slides and cassettes that we've all gone over, did you have an opportunity to prepare a report that summarized those findings?
Yes.
Back in approach, Ron.
You may.
All right, this has been marked states 133. Is that just a copy of the report that you generated in connection with this case?
Yes.
I move to tender states 133.
Any objection?
Hearsay.
Any response to the objection of hearsay?
No, Your Honor.
It is overruled and admitted over objection.
Ma'am, those are all the questions that I have for you. The defense counsel may have some questions.
Mr. Cruz? Yes, go ahead, sir.
Well, the jury's standing, I'll truck through until we get our next break. I don't want to leave them waiting.
All right, cross-examination, Mr. Cruz.
Ms. Licon, good morning. My name is Attorney Ahmad Cruz. I have the privilege and honor of representing Mr. Edrick Faust. We previously had opportunity to speak yesterday. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And would you tell the jury, is it true that you would agree that you're from California? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And the state of Georgia brought you here from California to testify about the testing that you conducted in this case. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And if you know, other laboratories in the United States conduct RSID saliva testing. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And even some laboratories in Georgia. Is that correct?
I don't know.
That's fair. Other labs also conduct the Lugal's iodine test. Is that correct?
Correct.
Now I want to ask you this. You've been doing this since 2022. Is that fair?
Yes.
But you have never been asked to come into court and testify to the Lugal's iodine test. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And I think we agree on this. So this is your first time being asked to testify on these presumptive tests.
Correct.
How about the RSID test?
Is this my first time?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. So no other state has said, hey, can you come testify about these presumptive tests to a jury?
Correct.
And neither are confirmatory tests. I think, excuse me, there aren't any confirmatory tests for these two tests. Is that right?
Correct.
Now, I want to ask you this. You were given some packages that involve swabs. Do you still have those up there with you?
I don't.
I'm going to give you a pair of gloves. Let the record reflect that I've given Ms. Licon a pair of gloves. I've given her State's Exhibit 141. I am also going to give her State's Exhibit 142 and a pair. All right, Ms. Licon, can you open the two packages that you have?
I am going to object to the relevance of having this witness open that package, especially in light of what happened yesterday.
Mr. Cruz?
Sure. The State introduced those items as exhibits. I believe we expressed on the court before that it's the items that's inside that is relevant. We just want to see the items that's inside, so I can ask her some questions about that.
I'm going to take a step outside the presence of the jury, and we are going to have a restroom break. So if you'll go into the jury room, this will be a restroom break. Mr. Cruz, I'll certainly give you one as well.
Thank
Please don't discuss the case. If you'd like to do that first and come back, that'd be fine.
Thank you.
Before we begin, now that we're outside the presence of the jury, anything further from the State about the objection?
No, it's just a relevance objection, Your Honor. I mean, Ms. Licon testified that she received those items sealed and then, open them to conduct the testing that she described. I apologize. I have a lifesaver in my mouth. I didn't know we were going back on the record so quickly. And I just can't see the relevance of actually having her open that. I don't see how that's going to be, make any material fact more or less likely for the jury's perspective. And then I also, again, in light of yesterday's incident with the slides, it seems like a bad idea. And so legally speaking, I would couch it in the form of a relevance objection.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Mr. Cruz.
Excellent. I think the State is precluded from arguing relevance because they introduced the items into evidence. As your Honorable Court is aware, I before have asked the State, before they introduced any of it, I believe I asked Mr. Yalamachili when he showed them to me, to open the package. I believe I raised an objection with the Honorable Court. We don't know what's in the items, and I think it's even more relevant the fact that we had one incident where we opened envelopes and they were completely empty. So what's in the package is relevant in this case. I'm going to ask her, are those items she tested? And I'll go down that line of questioning once she's able to identify what's in the package. As of right now, the State is just presenting packages saying, hey, take it for what it is. That isn't authentication. We want to authenticate these items and then ask the witness questions about those items.
All right, thank you.
But I won't pass it to the jury. It's solely for...
Okay, well, let's talk about that moment. All right, hang on just a minute. Mr. Bill, is there anything else?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Hang on just a minute. All right, thank you very much. All right, I'm going to overrule the objection and allow Mr. Cruz to ask this witness to open the package, but I'm not going to allow it to be sent to the jury. I think that incident yesterday is indicative of the danger of doing that. There are methods if the jury wants to look at evidence that is sensitive, particularly during deliberations, and we take it up in the courtroom, we deal with it in that manner. I'm not necessarily making a finding that this is actually relevant, but you are on cross-examination. I'll allow you to do that. All right, anything else? All right. Well, I did tell them we had a restroom break. Can you knock on the door and see if they're ready? Thank you. All right, very good. Be at ease until then, until we're ready. Now that we're back on the record, I do want to tell everyone in the audience, since we have a number of people in here, and it's gotten busier since we started, and I don't know who was here yesterday, if anybody. So I'm just going to remind everybody in the audience that with the exception of the media who have been provided a Rule 22 permission, with the exception of attorneys who are here in the courtroom, who are also here in the courthouse. If you'll just tell them to hang on just a second. Thank you. With the exception of attorneys who are here in the courthouse, perhaps watching, but also doing business here in the courthouse, with the exception, of course, of law enforcement who is here, who needs to be in other areas and need to be on their cell phone. With those, and the attorneys at the table, the exception of those persons, no one's allowed to use their cell phone while they're here in the courtroom. So if you have one, obviously make sure it's on silent, please. And please put it away. And thank you. The other issue that I want to bring up for counsel with regard to the ruling that we just made is I think it is probably best, and I'm going to make this part of the order, that only this witness handle the actual contents of the actual exhibit.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. You may bring the jury out.
I think so. The Edrick.
All right, you all may be seated. Thank you. Mr. Cruz?
Okay. Thank you, Your Honor. Can you open the two envelopes that were provided to you?
Yes.
Okay. Can you hold it up,
Yeah. Do you want me to do one at a time or?
please?
Okay. So this is cuttings of item 2I.
And may I approach, Your Honor, just so I could get a better sight on it?
You may.
And then this is cuttings of item 2J.
Now, you'd agree that the items that you received were cuttings of swabs, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Inside of the tubes that you have, do you recognize those swabs as what you tested?
Yes.
Do you know where those swabs came from?
No.
The only information that you had about the swabs were that they were oral swabs, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. At any time were you advised that the swabs were over, well, let me ask this, what year did you test these swabs?
In 2024.
You remember what month in 2024?
I can see on the envelope it was October of 2024. I tested them.
October of 2024?
Yes.
Okay. Were you aware that these swabs were collected close to 23 years, well, past 20, close to 24 years prior?
At the time, no.
The items that you tested, you don't know when, or excuse me, you don't know when they were collected. Is that right?
Correct.
You don't know where they were collected from. Is that right?
Correct.
You don't know who those swabs belong to?
No.
Okay, so you weren't given any of that information?
No.
You simply received a package labeled oral swabs.
Correct.
Okay. And question for you, you have the swabs up there with you. Would you agree that the, I may say this wrong, but the swabbing material, the cotton, in some places is pretty much white. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Did you know that those swabs that you tested had been considered Oral swabs for close to 24 years.
I would object to the characterization in that question.
All right. Most specifically, what's your objection?
I would object to the use of the word considered oral swabs versus labeled oral swabs.
I'll allow it, but you may follow up if you choose to do so with any redirect. Go ahead.
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
Sure. Were you aware that the items that you received had been considered or labeled oral swabs for 24 years?
I was not aware of the past characterization of them.
Okay. So is it fair to say that as you sit here today, you don't know if the swabs that you tested are the same swabs that were collected?
Correct. I'm only aware of what we received at our laboratory.
That's fair. Course indulgence. My last question for you. You mentioned this is your first time talking about these tests. Are you aware of anyone else being asked to testify about the Lugal's iodine test in court?
I would object to the relevance, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Those are my questions. Thank you so much for your time.
Any redirect, Mr. Bolden?
No, Your Honor.
May this witness be excused.
Please.
Any objection from the defense?
No, ma'am.
You are free to go. And you may call your next witness.
Thank you, Judge. I think that myself and Mr. Cruz need to review the exhibits that are going to be used with the next witness.
Okay. How much time do you need to do that?
I mean, a couple of minutes, Your Honor.
All right, go ahead and just do that. All right.
And if it's okay with the court, just to allow us to speak a little more freely, if that's all right, Mr. Cruz and I step into the hallway with them.
Yes, that's probably best. Thank you. We'll be at ease, everyone. If anyone needs to use the restroom right now, certainly you can do that, but we just did take a break, so we're going to stay seated for just a moment.
Your Honor, I think we're going to have to address something with the court.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, I am going to ask you to go into the jury room. Please don't discuss the case. Y'all may be seated. Thank you. All right, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. This goes back to some pretrial rulings by the court based on the court's ruling and the defense's proffer that pursuant to the state's Saudi motion that Mr. Melton would be the only alternative suspect raised by the defense. The reports, beginning with State's Exhibit 136, makes reference to an individual as a suspect who is neither Mr. Faust or Mr. Melton, and so the state would seek to redact that pursuant to the court's order. It's not relevant, and under 403 would be confusing to the jury. As it relates to State's 137, same thing. There's an individual listed as a suspect who is not one of the noticed individuals from the court's ruling on Saudi motion. 403, again, it would be excluded. I don't know that the state is going to get into, 138, yes, again, same individual's name needs to be redacted in the suspect line. As it relates to 139 and 140, Judge, there are a number of individuals' names on here that kind of fall into that same category I was speaking of previously. They are not Mr. Melton or Mr. Faust, and thus their names need to be redacted pursuant to the court's ruling because it would be confusing the jury under 403. So that would be the state's position, and I understand after discussing that with Mr. Faust, the defense is not in agreement as to that.
All right, thank you. Mr. Cruz, anything, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
A big portion of this case is the police's investigation and the way that investigation was conducted. Our position would be that other suspects that were looked at should be considered by the jury as opposed to making this case solely about Mr. Melton and Mr. Faust. As I stated in my opening, Your Honor, the jury's job isn't to determine whether or not Mr. Melton committed this crime. The jury's determination is to determine whether or not the state has presented enough evidence that Mr. Faust is the person that committed this crime. I do believe that in regards to the 401 objection, it is relevant. Law enforcement looked at other individuals. I believe in the reports, since I'm making the argument, they look at other individuals, but they don't have their, in this particular case, hair fibers, because it's hair, their hair, because these are hair tests. They have these individuals listed as the suspect, but they don't have any of their biological material. So it is relevant. I don't think it'll confuse the jury because, again, as I explained to the court, you have this person listed as a suspect, but in the report you don't have this individual's biological materials. So I would ask the Honorable Court to allow or restrict the state from restricting that individual's name off of the testing form, Your Honor.
Thank you. Anything further? Mr. Yalman-Chile, it's your motion.
I think the law stands for a contrary proposition, which I argued to the court.
All right, thank you. So, Mr. Cruz, your argument is in direct violation and contradiction to all of the orders that have been entered in this case. And I've said many times, and I will say it again today, that the defense had the responsibility, if it chose to enumerate other possible suspects, that not only did they have to, by law, provide the proper notice to the state that they were going to seek to introduce evidence as to other persons, but also a hearing needed to be scheduled pursuant to that notice. That notice is in the form of a motion. And we've talked about this many times. That has not been done by the defense, with the exception of Mr. Melton. And we had that hearing. And that evidence that both parties sought to admit with regard to Mr. Melton was agreed by the parties and accepted by the court that would be admissible. I mean, not all of it, but just in general. But any other mention of any other suspects or things of that nature were prohibited based on the rulings by this court in several hearing days that we have had. And so I say that again to say that because of those rulings and because of the legal procedure that was not enlisted by the defense to get the proper permission to be able to talk about other possible suspects, it is prohibited. It is also not relevant based on the prior rulings. I agree with the state that under 403, confusion of the issues would be paramount in this moment. And so I'm going to order the state to redact those particular exhibits. I think they're 136, 137, 138, 139, and 140. Am I right about that?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. I'm going to order the state to redact those exhibits, as we previously discussed, with regard to those rulings. I mean, I think that's, we've kind of gone over this.
May I respond, Your Honor? I'm happy to heard. And I believe I may have explained it wrong. I am not saying that we want to say that this third person did anything. We're saying that it's relevant because it goes to law enforcement's investigation. And please forgive me for I probably didn't state that the first time. But they're saying, hey, this person was a suspect. However, the test is biological testing. The relevance for us is we're showing law enforcement said this person is a suspect, not because we're saying they committed the crime. We're saying look at the work they did. Person A is a suspect, but they don't have any of person A's biological material. And please forgive me if I misstated that the first time.
Well, I did actually understand this part of your argument.
Understood.
I did, and with regard to the comments you're making about the police work and how they conducted it, I'm not making a finding about that issue. But my ruling stands.
Yes, ma'am.
Because the defense has failed to provide the proper motion and notice that the law requires in order for the court to then make a determination as to even whether that evidence should be admitted. And so because of that, regardless of the reason that the defense or any party wants to introduce that evidence, it is prohibited.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
How much time do you need, Mr. Yelman-Chili?
Just a couple of minutes,
All right.
Judge, and then I'll hand it to Mr. Cruz
Okay.
to make sure he has no objection as to form.
All
I
right.
understand he objects in general.
Okay.
And then one request I would make of the court is, we can redact it for today with a Sharpie. We also have the ability, though, to black it out digitally and then reprint the report with that blackout. And so at the appropriate time, I'd ask to, submit an alternative redacted version of the exact same report. Obviously, it's just a digital file at that time.
All right. I guess my question for the redaction process is, do you need to make a copy of that exhibit and then do it, or?
I think it's fine.
All right, I'll just leave that to you. We
Thank
just
you.
need to make the record clear. All right,
Yes.
we will take a 10-minute recess. I'll be back on the bench in 10 minutes. Thank you.